All right, so get this. We're diving deep into IPOs,
Yeah.
initial public offerings.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, specifically, we're looking at why everyone seems to think 2025 is going to be like this huge year for IPOs.
A real boom.
Exactly, a boom. And our main source for this deep dive is this ebook called The 2025 IPO Market, a bullish outlook.
Catchy title.
Right. So it got me thinking, is it really going to be that good? Like, what's the reality here? And if it is, how do we get ready for it? What do we need to know?
Well, the ebook kind of lays out this whole like perfect storm scenario.
Okay, so perfect storm. I mean, the ebook mentions rate cuts from the Federal Reserve and other central banks.
Right.
And I get that, lower interest rates mean companies can borrow money more cheaply. But I feel like that's kind of common knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, why is that such a big deal specifically for IPOs in 2025?
It's a good question. It's not just about companies having like more cash on hand.
Right.
These lower rates kind of create this ripple effect throughout the whole system. Think about it, like suddenly going public becomes a much more attractive option for companies who maybe were kind of hesitant before. Because now they can raise capital without being stuck with like massive debt payments right away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And on the investor side, those lower rates can push them, towards riskier assets like IPOs because they're looking for those better returns.
So it's like a chain reaction almost.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. The ebook also talks about like the stock market's performance, how the S&P 500 had a great year in 2024.
Yeah, 23% returns. That's nothing to scoff at.
No, it's not.
So when the market's doing well, investor confidence just shoots up.
Right. They're feeling good.
Exactly. And suddenly that risk that's always associated with IPOs, it doesn't seem so scary anymore.
Yeah, they're more willing to jump in. Okay. And then to top it all off, the ebook also highlights all these pro-business policies that are making it easier for companies to actually go public.
It's streamlining the process.
Right. It's like everything's aligning perfectly.
Yeah, it really does seem that way.
Okay. And then there's this whole other piece about private equity.
Oh, yeah.
They're sitting on like, what was it, over $500 billion?
$500 billion with a B.
It's crazy just waiting to be invested.
It's what they call dry powder, and it's burning a hole in their pockets.
So they're ready to take these companies public and make some money.
You got it.
The ebook even mentions some potential IPO giants, Medline Industries, Genesis.
Big names.
Yeah, huge. But it's not just about the big names, right? Like there's this whole other group of, what do they call them, unicorns?
Unicorns, exactly.
Those privately held companies valued at over $1 billion.
That's right. And they're all kind of lining up ready to go public.
Okay, so we've got this perfect storm brewing, all these companies ready to go, public investors feeling good. Let's talk about some of these unicorns. I'm particularly interested in like the AI space and enterprise tech,
That's where a lot of the buzz is right now.
It seems like it.
And for good reason. We're seeing some serious players getting ready to make their move.
Like who?
Well, there's Cerebras Systems. They're an AI chip maker.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
They've been held back by regulatory hurdles for a while, but it looks like they're finally ready to go.
That's interesting. What about CoreWeave? Aren't they like huge already?
Huge is an understatement. They're valued at over $35 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so their IPO is definitely one of the most anticipated. They're an AI cloud platform, basically riding this wave of demand for AI infrastructure.
It seems like everyone needs AI infrastructure these days.
It's true, but they're not the only ones. The ebook also mentions Snyk and Symphony AI.
Okay, I don't know those as well.
Snyk is all about application security.
Okay.
Which is a huge need in our increasingly digital world,
Yeah, for sure.
And then Symphony AI, they're all about predictive AI using data to anticipate and solve problems.
Well, it's not just about AI in general. It's about these companies finding their little niche within AI.
Exactly. They're solving very specific problems for businesses, which is what makes them so attractive to investors.
Okay, that makes sense. But AI isn't the only game in town. What about fintech? Are there any potential like blockbusters brewing in that world?
Oh, absolutely. Fintech is on fire right now, and the name on everyone's lips is Stripe.
Stripe, yeah, I've heard of them.
They're potentially looking at one of the biggest IPOs in history.
Seriously?
Yeah, their valuation is estimated at something like $65 billion.
$65 billion. What did they do again?
They're in online payments. But it's more than just processing payments.
Okay.
They've built this incredibly sophisticated platform that powers all kinds of things like subscription services, online marketplaces.
Oh, wow.
You've probably used their technology without even realizing it.
So they're like the silent giants of the internet.
You could say that.
Are there any other fintech players that we should be keeping an eye on?
Definitely Klarna and Revolut are two to watch.
Okay, tell me about those.
Klarna is a big name in buy now, pay later, which is
Awesome.
a trend that's just exploded, especially with younger shoppers.
Yeah, I've used that.
Right. And then Revolut is shaking things up in the banking world with their digital-first approach.
Interesting.
And both of them are focused on becoming profitable before they go public, which is a smart move to attract investors.
Yeah, it makes sense. Shows that they're serious.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got AI, we've got fintech. What about healthcare? Any exciting unicorns coming out of the, biotech labs?
Oh, the healthcare space is fascinating. There's a company called Hinge Health. They're all about virtual physical therapy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a booming field, especially as healthcare goes more and more digital.
Makes sense.
Convenience, accessibility, and personalized care, that's what's driving their potential.
So tapping into those larger shifts in how we access healthcare.
Exactly. And another one to watch is Element Biosciences.
Okay, haven't heard of them.
They're developing these cutting-edge genetic analysis tools.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the kind of technology that could revolutionize personalized medicine and diagnostics.
That sounds amazing.
Think early disease detection and targeted therapies based on your individual genetic makeup. That's the future they're betting on.
It's incredible to think about.
It is.
All right, so we've got AI, fintech, healthcare. We can't forget about consumer and retail. Are there any unicorns targeting everyday consumers like us?
Oh, for sure. There's Discord.
The chat platform.
Yeah, they started with gamers, but they've gone totally mainstream, and they're aiming for an IPO.
Interesting.
They're diversifying their revenue streams, which is key for any company looking to go public.
So they're not just a one-trick pony.
Exactly. And then there's Canva.
Canva. Oh, yeah, I use Canva all the time.
They're taking on the big design software giants like Adobe.
Bold move.
It is, but here's the thing. They're already profitable, and their valuation is around $32 billion.
Wow. Profitable and a massive valuation. That's
Yeah.
a powerful combination.
You said it.
Okay, so we've got this amazing lineup of companies, from AI chip makers to design platforms, all getting ready to go public. But I think it's important to understand, why would a company even choose to go public in the first place?
That's a great question. It's a big decision, and it's not right for every company.
Right.
But for the right company at the right time, it can be transformative.
Okay, so let's break it down. What are the key reasons why a company might take the IPO plunge?
Well, the first reason is pretty straightforward: capital.
Money.
Exactly. Going public allows companies to raise a lot of money by selling shares of their company to the public.
So it's like getting a massive infusion of cash.
Exactly. And they can use that money to fuel growth, invest in research and development, or even acquire other companies.
So it's like a supercharge for their ambitions.
You could say that. And the second reason is liquidity.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that going public provides early investors and employees who hold shares in the company with a way to cash out some of their investment.
Oh, so they can finally, realize the return on their early faith in the company.
Precisely. It creates a market for their shares, allowing them to sell them to the public.
Interesting. Okay, and what's the third reason?
The third reason is market validation.
Hmm.
Going public is often seen as a sign that the company has reached a certain level of maturity and success.
Like they've made it to the big leagues.
Exactly. It boosts their credibility, and it can give them a competitive edge when it comes to things like attracting talent, securing partnerships, or negotiating deals.
So it's about more than just money. It's about prestige and credibility, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so capital, liquidity, and market validation, those are the big three. But going public isn't just a matter of snapping your fingers, right? There's a whole process involved.
It's a journey.
Yeah, a complex one.
And it often takes months or even years to complete.
Wow.
It all starts with preparation, getting their financial house in order, going through these rigorous audits to ensure transparency and accuracy, and assembling a team of experts, including underwriters, who will guide them through the process. It sounds intense.
It can be. The next step is filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC.
Okay.
This involves submitting a detailed prospectus that outlines the company's financials, their business model, risks, growth plans.
It's like opening their books to the world and saying, this is who we are.
Exactly. Transparency is key here.
And then
Then comes the marketing phase, often called road shows.
road shows.
Yeah. The company's leadership team travels around meeting with institutional investors to pitch their story and generate excitement for the IPO.
It's like a campaign.
Kind of, but instead of votes, they're seeking investment dollars.
Got to get those investors on board.
You got it. And finally, we reach listing day,
The big day.
the culmination of all their hard work. This is when the company's shares officially become available for trading on a public stock exchange.
It's like the grand opening of a brand new store, but on a massive scale.
It's quite a spectacle, and it's often a day of high excitement and volatility as the market determines the initial value of the company's shares.
So much anticipation.
It must feel incredible for those companies to finally reach that point.
I'm sure it does.
Okay, but how do investors even determine a company's value in the first place? It seems like such a subjective thing.
It's complex, but there are some key drivers that investors consider. One is growth potential.
Right?
They look at the company's scalability, their addressable market size, how much room they have to grow in the future.
So they're looking for companies with the potential to become much bigger than they are today.
Exactly. The second driver is financial health.
Right.
Investors scrutinize the company's revenue, profitability, cash flow, and debt levels. They want to see a solid track record and a sustainable business model.
Makes sense. And then there's that whole market sentiment thing.
Right, market sentiment is a bit more intangible, but it plays a significant role. Investors consider the overall economic climate trends within the specific industry and even the buzz surrounding the company itself.
So it's a combination of hard numbers and gut feeling.
You could say that it's a delicate balance that ultimately determines a company's valuation.
This is all fascinating. But it's important to remember that even with all the analysis in the world, IPOs are still risky.
Absolutely. They're not a guaranteed path to riches.
So how can our listeners navigate this complex landscape and make smart investment decisions? What strategies should they be thinking about?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we're back and ready to really dig into, the strategies that people need to actually play this IPO game in 2025.
Yeah, it's not just about understanding the landscape, but knowing how to navigate it.
Exactly. We've talked about this perfect storm, these incredible companies, but now let's talk about how you can actually get in on the action intelligently.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in all the excitement, but it's crucial to approach IPO investing with a clear head.
Yeah, no emotional decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, what's the most important thing they should keep in mind when they're thinking about IPOs?
The first thing is understanding that IPOs are inherently risky. It's not like buying shares of a well-established company that has a long track record.
Right.
With IPOs, there's a lot more uncertainty.
So we're not talking about a guaranteed get-rich-quick scheme.
Definitely not. The market can be incredibly volatile, especially in the short term.
Okay.
You might see the price of a newly listed stock swing wildly in the days or even weeks following the IPO.
I guess we shouldn't expect every IPO to be the next Google or Amazon, just skyrocketing overnight.
Exactly. While some IPOs might experience a dramatic initial surge, others might take time to find their footing in the market.
Right.
Long-term success really depends on the company's ability to meet or exceed investor expectations.
And that's hard to predict.
It is, especially in the early stages.
So patience is key.
Absolutely. Investing in IPOs is a long game. It's about identifying companies with strong fundamentals, a compelling vision, and the ability to actually execute their plans.
Right. It's not just about hype.
Exactly. If you believe in the company's long-term prospects, then those short-term price fluctuations shouldn't scare you away.
That makes sense. But with so many companies potentially going public in 2025, how do we even begin to narrow it down? How do we choose the right IPOs to invest in?
That's where a solid investment strategy comes in.
Okay.
And the first principle is diversification.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Precisely. You don't want to put all your money into one IPO, even if it seems like a sure thing.
Right. Spread the risk.
Exactly. Exactly. If you believe in the company's long-term potential, you'll be more likely to ride out any short-term market fluctuations.
Okay, so patience and a long-term vision.
Absolutely. Remember, the goal is to invest in companies that will grow and thrive over time, not just make a quick buck.
Right. Slow and steady wins the race.
Often it does.
But with so much information out there, how do we even begin to evaluate these companies? Where do we start our research?
Research is your best friend when it comes to IPO investing.
This is all great advice, but I know some of our listeners might be thinking, okay, this all sounds good, but where do I even start?
Right.
Are there any, actionable steps that they can take right now to prepare for this 2025 IPO wave?
Absolutely. First, stay updated on IPO filings and market trends.
Okay, how do we do that?
There are a ton of financial websites and platforms that track upcoming IPOs and provide valuable insights. You can set up alerts to be notified when companies in your areas of interest file for an IPO.
So basically, stay informed, do your research, and don't be afraid to seek out expert advice if you need it.
Exactly. The more knowledge you have, the better prepared you'll be to take advantage of this IPO boom.
Okay.
And another thing, don't underestimate the power of connecting with other investors.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, join online forums, attend investment clubs, or even just chat with friends who are also interested in IPOs.
Right.
Sharing insights and perspectives can be incredibly valuable.
Sometimes the best insights come from bouncing ideas off other people.
Yep.
Okay, so we've talked about the strategies, but I'm also curious about learning from the past. The ebook highlights some recent IPO success stories like Reddit and Astrolabs.
Right.
What made those IPOs so successful?
Well, Reddit's success can be partially attributed to their strategic decision to diversify their revenue streams before going public.
Okay.
They expanded beyond just their core advertising business into areas like premium memberships and virtual goods.
So they showed investors that they weren't a one-trick pony.
Exactly. They had multiple avenues for growth. And then Astrolabs, a semiconductor company, proved that a strong focus on a sector like artificial intelligence can really attract and maintain investor interest.
Yeah, AI is hot right now.
It is. And their chips are used in data centers and AI applications which are experiencing explosive growth.
So they positioned themselves at the forefront of a major technological trend.
Precisely.
It seems like timing is everything when it comes to IPOs.
It really is. Riding a wave of industry trends can make a huge difference.
So what are the key takeaways from these examples?
Well, I think they highlight a few crucial things for both companies looking to go public and investors considering investing in IPOs.
Okay.
First, timing is crucial. Launching an IPO when market conditions are favorable can significantly impact its success.
It's like striking while the iron is hot.
Exactly. Second, transparency builds trust.
Hmm.
Companies that clearly communicate their plans, their financials, and their vision are more likely to attract investors.
Honesty is the best policy.
Especially when you're asking people to invest their hard-earned money.
Right. And what's the third takeaway?
Adaptability is essential.
Okay.
The market is constantly changing, and companies need to be able to pivot and adjust their strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
So it's not enough to just have a great idea.
Right. You need to be able to adapt and evolve as the market changes.
So those are the key takeaways: timing, transparency, and adaptability.
You got it.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered so much ground, from understanding the risks to identifying the right companies to invest in.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But I want to shift gears a bit now and talk about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does this potential IPO boom really mean for the economy as a whole?
That's a great question. IPOs are more than just a way for companies to raise money or for investors to make a profit.
Okay.
They're a reflection of innovation, of entrepreneurial spirit, of the constant evolution of our economy and society.
So they're like a window into the future.
Exactly. When you see a wave of companies going public, it often signals a shift in the technological landscape, the emergence of new industries, and the creation of new jobs and opportunities.
It's a sign of a dynamic and growing economy.
Precisely. And for individual investors, even if they don't participate directly in IPOs, this boom can have ripple effects. It can boost overall market sentiment, drive innovation in established companies, and even create new investment opportunities in related sectors.
So it's not just about picking the winning IPOs. It's about understanding the broader trends that these IPOs represent and how they might impact the market as a whole.
Exactly. For example, the surge in AI and fintech IPOs we talked about earlier is clear indication that these sectors are experiencing rapid growth and attracting significant investment.
Right.
This could lead to breakthroughs in areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, personalized medicine, and digital finance.
Which could benefit all of us.
Exactly.
It's amazing to think about the potential ripple effects.
Right.
But I want to bring it back to our listeners, many of whom are eager to learn and grow their knowledge.
Sure.
What's like the one key takeaway you would leave them with today?
I would say this. In a world of constant information overload, taking the time to deeply understand a topic like we've done with this IPO deep dive can be a huge advantage. It empowers you to make more informed decisions, whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or simply someone who wants to stay ahead of the curve.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
It certainly is.
And this deep dive has definitely been a power-up for our understanding of the 2025 IPO landscape.
It has indeed. And who knows, maybe this knowledge will spark an idea, ignite a passion, or even lead to a life-changing investment opportunity for one of our listeners.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. It's been an incredible journey.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, remember, 2025 could be your year to ride the wave of innovation, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop learning.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the 2025 IPO market. We hope you found it valuable and insightful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into IPOs.
The grand finale.
I like that. So we've talked about, the reasons why experts are predicting this IPO boom in 2025.
Right, all those economic factors lining up.
Exactly. And we've also gone through, some of the companies to watch the risks involved and even some strategies for, how to actually approach investing in IPOs.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But before we wrap up, I want to kind of shift gears a bit and get your take on something.
Okay.
We've been focusing a lot on the investor's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how to make money from IPOs. But IPOs are about more than just, making a quick buck, aren't they?
Oh, for sure.
So what is this whole, surge in IPOs, especially in areas like AI and fintech?
Mm-hmm.
What does that really tell us about the world we're moving into?
It's a really interesting question, and I think it speaks to something bigger than just the financial markets.
Okay.
You see, IPOs are kind of like a sign of a healthy and innovative economy. They represent companies that are pushing boundaries, developing new technologies, and creating jobs.
So it's like a snapshot of where innovation is happening.
Exactly, and where the economy is headed.
So take AI, for example.
Okay.
The fact that we're seeing so many AI companies going public, what does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that AI is maturing rapidly. It's moving beyond just the hype and into real-world applications.
Right.
And it's not just about AI itself, it's about the ripple effects that these companies are having.
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, they're developing solutions in healthcare finance, even everyday consumer products.
Wow.
We're talking about personalized medicine, smarter financial tools, even more intuitive ways to interact with technology.
So these advancements have the potential to really, improve our lives?
Absolutely, in countless ways.
So even if someone's not directly, investing in IPOs, this boom still has implications for them.
Definitely, it signals a period of rapid technological advancement that's going to shape the world we live in.
It's like we're on the cusp of something big.
I think so. It reminds me of the internet boom in the late 90s.
Oh.
It wasn't just about investing in .com companies.
Right. It was about the internet itself.
Exactly. It was about the transformative power of the internet, which ultimately touched every aspect of our lives.
And that's what we're seeing now with AI and other technologies.
I think so. It's like we're at the beginning of another major technological shift.
And these IPOs are a sign of things to come.
Exactly. So even if you're not a seasoned investor, paying attention to the IPO market can give you a glimpse into the future.
It's like a crystal ball for innovation.
You could say that it highlights the areas where the smartest minds and the most capital are being directed.
Makes sense.
It gives you a sense of the trends that are going to shape the next decade.
This has been so insightful. I feel like we've not only explored the world of IPOs, but we've also kind of gained a deeper understanding of, the forces that are driving innovation and shaping our future.
That's what I love about these deep dives. Really unpacking these complex topics and finding those nuggets of wisdom.
Exactly. Well, speaking of nuggets of wisdom, what's the one key takeaway that you would leave our listeners with today?
I would say this. In a world that's completely saturated with information, the ability to deeply understand a topic is a superpower. Whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to stay ahead of the curve, taking the time to dive deep gives you a significant advantage.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. And this deep dive has definitely given us a lot of knowledge about the 2025 IPO market.
It has, and I hope it's inspired our listeners to maybe explore some new investment opportunities or even, think about starting their own company.
I hope so too.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your expertise.
It was my pleasure. And to our listeners, remember, 2025 could be your year to ride the wave of innovation, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop exploring.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Wow.
So that's a wrap on our deep dive into the 2025 IPO market. We hope you found it valuable and insightful. And until next time, keep diving deep.